Hello and welcome to the Ride Companion.
No. This is the takeover. This is the Moving the Needle podcast. Ignore that sign. Just ignore that sign. Because these two legends are now on the hot seat. We swapped over. I'm going to host. You ready for it, Ollie?
Dude, look how mellow I'm sat. You know how ready I am
relax.
for this.
Now the pressure's on me. It's nice being a guest, eh?
I don't know.
Have you not been a guest on a podcast?
Oh, yeah.
No, have you not been a guest?
Yeah, I've done a few. Yeah, I have been a guest on a few
Way
podcasts.
better.
I'm just trying to... yeah, it can be, yeah.
On what? On which ones?
I've done Rad Season. I've done Tim Warwood's one.
I know that other one you did. There is another one you did.
And now you're doing Moving the Needle podcast. Again, ignore the sign. Ollie, you've gone on a few.
Yeah, dude.
Been on mine.
Yeah, I've been on yours. I think I'm way better as a guest, to be honest.
Dude, the guest is... how much less... The guest is great. The time flies when you're a guest as well. Watch this. You'll be like, oh, that was a quick hour.
Hour?
You were meant to come... you were meant to come back on 1:23.
Oh, yeah, wasn't I? Yeah,
but you were
what
too
you on
busy.
now?
You big time me, I think.
Absolutely not a chance. There's no way that you invited me and I big timed you. That's not possible.
Ooh.
You can't just say things. You know how podcasts
You can
work.
as a host. You literally can say things with confidence.
Okay,
and then they maybe believe.
Mate, I'm hyped to be on, dude.
Now, this is... Your guys' podcast has got a great following. Q getting invited to go to McLaren. Thank you, Davi. But
Thanks, Davi.
Does everyone know how this relationship started? I don't think so. How did it start?
Maybe not, eh?
Maybe not.
Like, let's turn back the time.
Let's try. Let's try and do that. It's going to be difficult. In fact, the Instagram, I was scrolling back the other day to see when we got our dog. The dog's poorly at the moment. So I was just looking when we got our dog, and I found the Instagram that I put up of Ollie being a guest on what was originally the Hook It podcast.
Yeah.
And it was 2015.
There you go.
When he first came on the Hook It. That's the one I got invited on as well.
Yeah, that was the original.
Later.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Original
so
mountain bike podcast.
Yeah, the original Hook It podcast.
The original mountain bike podcast.
The original mountain bike podcast, some might say.
Some might say.
Would be true if they do say it. Yeah, it was the original.
What format was it in when...
Braille.
Hey, he's already gone to host. He's already gone back to host.
Sorry,
Did you see that?
All right, watch. Look how lazy I am.
Did you see that? Good question, though. What format was it in? Great question. No, you can keep.
Yeah, it was obviously then. It was just audio. Totally just audio. And we did a virtual episode together. I remember where I was. I still lived at my parents' house. I remember I did it in what was my mum's office at the time. And yeah, that was kind of, I wouldn't say it's how this started, but we didn't know each other at all. Like, obviously, Ollie was a guest because I was a fan. That was a normal
episode, like Hook It, thinking, but then...
Yeah, it was trying to be bi-weekly back then. So it was every other week.
Okay.
And I would have random guests from... I think back then it was probably a bit more diverse too, because I'd had like some health and fitness people on, different sports, BMX, moto, a mountain bike. So it was a bit all over the place. But that was probably purely because it was harder to get guests, because being honest, it was like a lot of people didn't know what a podcast was. I always use the example of Ryan Nyquist, who had absolutely no idea what he was doing, bless him. Like zero clue. He agreed to do it through DMs, which was insane anyway. And then he's like, okay, this time. And I sent him the link to go on what was then a Skype call. Sent him a Skype link. There he is. Like, doesn't put his video on, which is fine, but obviously doing podcasts, it's kind of easy if you can see someone.
Definitely.
You can see the reaction.
Especially virtually, you need the video.
And I remember being like, hey man, like, I'm just going to hit record, like, we're probably going to go, and he's like, how long will it be? And I was like, probably like an hour or something like that. And he's like, oh, I'm just driving back from the airport, will that be okay? And I was just like, yeah, like, cool. And he just drove home from the airport and we did a podcast, and I've never listened back to it because it was probably awful. But yeah, that was what it was back then, man. It was really different. But it was harder to get guests because so many people. And I remember actually, like, Ollie was one of the first, really, that we had a mutual love of podcasts, if that made sense. Because
I think that's what you need in the beginning, hey?
Yeah.
Because I also loved podcasts for a long time. So.
Yeah. I remember we had like a mutual love of a certain podcast.
Yeah,
called The
and that's how we
Kid,
kept
we were
in
just
touch,
like, oh,
wasn't it?
interesting. Like,
after you recorded the
I think it
guest
was,
one with him.
Yeah.
No one liked podcasts then.
It felt like they didn't. It definitely felt like it.
No one knew what they were.
No.
Absolutely, yeah. I only knew because my brothers introduced me to.
Really, yeah.
Yeah,
like Rogan.
Comedians.
And that's how I
and
found
Tim
it.
Ferriss was big back. Like,
Tim
in
Ferriss
business,
was massive
he was
then.
big. He was like, he was called kind of the Oprah of podcasting.
Yeah.
Because he was kind of put it on the map.
So I discovered it just from like driving a lot. I had a company before the Hook It thing doing camper vans in Poland. So I'd drive from England to Poland, then to Sweden, to Norway, all over. So I was always driving, and I don't know how I first found podcasts, but you know, you're driving around like listening to European radio, and it was just awful, and you couldn't find stuff, and then discovered that you could just, at the time, like most cars didn't even have like USB connections and stuff, so headphones, just driving through Europe, just listening to Rogan and Fighter and the Kid and stuff like that, and it was from there that I was like, oh, I'd like to do something, but I just needed to like figure out why. Does that make sense? So yeah, then started a distribution company, needed a way of marketing it, boom. Hook
And
It
always
podcast.
a passion in mountain biking. Like you had that on. Like how did that come about?
Not really, if I'm honest. Yeah, just been brutally honest. Like I started a distribution company originally to be a motocross distribution company. So I was talking to Zinc about Census grips. So at the time, Census were going to bring out a moto version of what was then the This Is the Boss, or I can't remember what it's called now. Swayze. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, well done. Appreciate that. I thought you were going for Knuckles, but you didn't. But we'll take it anyway. We'll have it anyway. So yeah, they were going to come out with this Census grip, and we were in talks about that. Then the moto grip never happened, and then Zinc was like, "Hey, why don't you just do the grips, like Census grips?" And then that's how Hook It started. Literally started off the back of that. Like,
that's so cool. I love those like random things.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do this, and then you
placed our first order. My first order at the time, it was just me. In fact, no, Olly might have been with me, my other business partner at Hook It. Yeah, we placed our order. He gave us 30 days for terms because I had no money. And that started Hook It, which became a distribution company. And still is. Like, it's still doing its thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then, yeah.
And then to fast forward, so I went on the podcast, and then it was probably COVID time, before
Could have
or after.
been. Yeah.
And then I feel like you had Olly again, but correct me if I'm wrong. And then you just saw something with him of like, hey, he's really good on these interviews, and you guys did like the companions through COVID or something.
Yeah, lockdown. I think
which was the initial start of this, which is now Ride Companion.
Yeah, yeah. So I remember
did daily ones or weekly ones?
We did our first ever episode, which was just me and Olly, like, you know, back to living at my parents'. Then you came back from Rampage once, and I was like, oh, I was down here because I was on the road with Hook It doing like sales visits and stuff. So I was like, oh, I'm going to be down south. Let's just sit and record. So we did. We just did an in-person with a Rodecaster Pro, whatever it's called. So we did one in your flat.
Yeah.
And then from that, I guess we were just like, oh, that was fun. Like, there's something here. I don't know what it is, but there's like something. And then we go into lockdown. And I just sent Olly a message like, yo, people are going to be bored. Let's just do something. And
mate, it was...
and the rest is history.
Dude,
I was listening to some of those because, I mean...
there's nothing to do.
Yeah. And well, there's only so much Rogan and other podcasts, and you got this great rapport, and it was funny.
Mate, I loved those
you were getting
episodes.
different guests on.
Yeah,
and we had so
good.
much time at that point to just sort of, like, sound super lame, but like be creative and like find things that you're interested in and just explore like stuff literally on your doorstep.
Yeah.
It felt like there was so much to talk about. We didn't run out.
Never. And we'd always come
even
into
though
it.
it's like meant to be the most boring time ever.
Yeah, but we'd always come into it and be like, you got anything to talk about? Nah, not really. Hit record, boom. It was like just
you guys had some
chat
random tangents.
Yeah, we had random guests. But I think as well what was happening is like podcasting in general was growing through that time, through the pandemic. Like it accelerated. And then this went from being like virtual and no video to then like, okay, like maybe we should do some more video stuff. And then we increased how good that looked. Like it went from being a shitty Skype call in 420 or whatever it was. Like, it was so bad. Sound quality is awful. And then it was like, oh, maybe I'll get a better microphone. And it just sort of expanded from there.
Yeah, it's really cool to see how where it starts and where it's got to now. Now you guys do it only really in person,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
brings its own challenges, you know.
It does.
Because you're down south of England.
Yeah.
Is that the
It
biggest?
does.
Yeah. I mean, that to me is probably one of my biggest challenges in podcasts. Is like just the admin around getting the guests. Conversation's great. Love prepping.
Yeah.
What's a big challenge for you guys? Like, because you're established now, really cool following in UK. Like UK, I can see the numbers on YouTube.
Yeah.
Even
It's growing,
audio,
for
like
sure.
it's definitely growing, and there's a big mountain bike fan base here.
Yeah. Obviously, getting guests is a little bit harder these days, but it's so much more valuable if you do get them. And I feel like speaking to guests and speaking to recently, like a lot of managers of certain guests that are coming on and stuff like that. And you'll know this from doing yours. Like it's gone from being this like fringe thing that people didn't really get to being this like, okay, that's actually a legitimate media platform where you can go and promote things or you can just get your story out. And I think that's, you know, it's not news to people that telling athlete stories is just sick. Like you watch these people on TV and you don't really know who they are. And podcast is like that avenue. So yeah, it's definitely getting to a point now where I think guests and people are more open to come down. We've had a few recently that have driven from or flown down, you know what I mean? So I think it's getting easier for sure. Like it just takes time, doesn't it? It's like, you know, we've got a guest coming up soon that we've been going back and forth for months.
Yeah, people don't know that. Eh? They just
Like
click on the
months.
episode.
Yeah, it's like, okay, oh, they got that guy on. It's like, no, it's been like months of trying to figure out if they're this way or whatever. And in all honesty, like it's been cool to be able to help some guests come down, if that makes sense. Because I think, you know, I guess when you have a guest, people probably don't know this, but like you don't get paid to be a guest. But if you can help with like some expenses and a hotel, and like that to me has always been like the bit of a dream
to be able to do
that and like provide more of like an experience, which I guess is something that in the long term we're kind of working more towards. It's like we want guests to come and have like a day, 2 days, go riding, coffee shop, gym, make more content
have the
around
Surrey
like,
experience.
Yeah, dude, just farm content from it wherever it is, whatever it is. Like have all these like segments and stuff. That was what we were desperate for, wasn't it, when we first started doing it in person. I think like lockdown was very cool because you had like a receptive audience, and that goes also for the guests. So we had banger guests through lockdown, didn't we?
Yeah.
Banger guests, dude.
Yeah.
Like, and there was no pressure on having guests the whole time. Like I definitely feel like we feel the pressure more now.
Yeah. Yeah.
In person to provide guests.
It's
like,
cool because we've got that old school following, like the older following that just love a random.
Yeah, barely bike chat.
Yeah.
Right.
dude, yeah.
And that seems to be quite apparent sometimes when you put an episode up and they do way better than like a big guest. And you're like, oh, interesting. Which is kind of cool. I don't really look into it that much personally. Like, I don't know why.
That is interesting, though.
But people love just a random... And I like that, though. Like, that's what I always think.
That's
like,
what I listen to as well.
That's exactly what I listen to. Just a bit of mumbling and like, you know, I like a really chilled episode.
Yeah.
Where you don't know where it's going. Whereas I think when you have a guest and it's like a walkthrough of their career, it's a bit of a different vibe.
Well, I mean, if you decide to go that route,
Yeah.
you guys are good to maybe go down tangents or challenge a guest, like, you know.
I think you
Do
want
you
to do...
feel the pressure? Sorry, do you feel the pressure to maybe stick to a bit more structure when you've got this big guest instead of going a little bit more niche and off topic?
I think you want to do them justice, don't you?
Yeah.
I think you want to like put someone across the best way you can. So that I wouldn't have said it's pressure other than that. It's like...
Yeah, I agree.
What I always think is I don't want to not ask the question.
Yeah.
If I forget, you know, like even we just recorded an episode available on the Ride Companion channel right now with you, and I like only going through the episode, I was like, Needles rode the full line at Darkfest. Like that's something people are interested in, and like if I missed that, it would annoy me. It would be like I was,
Yeah, fair enough.
you know, I wasn't paying attention. Like you don't want to be that guy. I don't
Yeah,
think.
you would be. Yeah, maybe there's the core fan that goes, "What do you mean you didn't ask that
Yeah.
topic?" Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I understand that.
I think that's cool when there's two of us. It
Yeah.
kind of works
Yeah,
that
I
way
mean, that
because
takes
you've
the
got
pressure
two
off. I would
different
love
brains
that
looking at it
sometimes.
different ways.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Don't get me wrong though, he's done some episodes which have been absolute like slayers on his own.
No, I mean you
West.
both can.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
but 2 heads is better than one, they say, you know.
Yeah.
If you're not there, I feel a huge amount of pressure.
Yeah.
That would, huh?
Definitely. When you're not there, I have to...
Really?
Yeah, big time, because I think by chance we've lucked out on like a combination of people with it. And I think I run the risk of it being very silly the whole way through, especially if you get me with the wrong... Dude, if I just sat here with you on my own, it would be very silly. Like, and it wouldn't stop.
But in a good
and
way.
And it wouldn't... Not necessarily everyone wants to listen to that stuff.
Yeah,
They
true.
don't necessarily want to.
Yeah, I guess so, but it's not every episode is for every person, I guess. Like,
No, you can't please everyone.
yeah.
But
How tough is that to like make that conscious decision?
I think, like Ollie said, though, it seems to happen, though, where, like, I don't know, he's doing his thing, like, having, you know, and I'll just, not really on purpose, but just be like, okay, back to what we were talking about.
It's like this.
Then just, like, bring it back and then go again.
Yeah. So you can be the handbrake, not in a bad way, but
Yeah,
you need a handbrake.
just, like,
I
bring
have
it
that
back
in
to,
business
okay,
as
like,
well.
dude,
like,
yeah.
Because it's hard. Like, it is hard, especially if you've got a guest who maybe we don't know that well, both of us. I don't know. Or oftentimes, well, it's obviously the case because of where we're based, Ollie knows them really well. You know, yourself, I guess, obviously over the years, we've become more virtual friends than like this. And like, so his rapport with the guest is so different to mine. Do you know what I mean? And I'll sometimes just have to be like, okay, just let it do its thing.
But I'm not going to ask good questions then. I'm not going to
Because
ask
you
Andrew
know a
good-
lot of them.
Yeah, dude.
And you're
I'm just
having the
not-
conversations.
I'm not going to ask my friend, like, so let me... Tell me, why'd you do this? Like, I already know. Like, so...
So speaking of that, why did you do this?
I love podcasts for a really long time, and I know everyone's like... I was very early on the podcast boat. It's an annoying thing to
I
say,
remember
but
when we went down to DMR and you
There you
told
go,
me
I
some
had-
of yours and I was telling you some of mine.
There you go. Yeah, I had that commute, so it was like super important to me. It was like a hour-long slot. It was like
Oh,
a commute.
bad hosting. This phone's still on because
Yeah,
I was
fine.
getting the
Fuck
questions.
doing, dude.
bro.
But I think like I was super into it, and then obviously I'd done them with you before and could see that we. Also in lockdown, I was just like, why not?
Yeah, it was so fun.
And then it was so fun, yeah,
Yeah.
because it was like it was no big deal. I wasn't thinking that we would be doing this when I said, yeah, let's do a lockdown series. I wasn't thinking it would turn into this.
No.
You just thought maybe it was a lockdown series.
One thing I would say though is that I had recorded my own podcasts on my own and never released them.
Really? So that's on top of those riding, talking videos you're doing in lockdown.
Oh man,
Different.
they're just No,
You don't wanna bring-
way before then.
Can we put a link in some of these?
Yeah.
they were good,
Release
dude.
them.
Way before then I'd done them, and then every time I go to edit them, I'm just like, I can't listen to myself. I hate the sound of my voice so much. Solo, yeah.
And what about just your thoughts and
Anything.
ramblings?
Just like ADHD thoughts, rambling.
Have you done
whatever.
it? You've done a solo podcast on
Yeah.
this channel.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not like this. Like that would feel insane. Sat here with the lights, the cameras, dude. Could you do it?
No, I dare you.
But how did you do?
But at some point you might have to.
But
Like,
even the
true,
other
yeah.
one, I have not ventured into a solo.
You've never done a solo
episode.
one?
No, I'm
Really?
too scared.
Would you?
No, well,
I've
I'm
done
hoping
some.
not.
I did some on this
I
channel.
didn't start
you've
the
done- yeah.
podcast for that. I started the podcast, I think, like you guys. It was fun. It's engaging, and I want to tell the stories of the other riders. Like I'm trying to take the back seat in the industry and prop up the other riders. Like you
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
there's people I don't agree with, don't follow, maybe don't like, and I've heard them on podcasts.
List 'em.
Totally changed. Oh, just golfers. They like the media's made them out to be X, Y, Z. I give them 3 hours, 2 hours on a podcast, whatever it is. I'm like, oh, I kind of understand where he's coming from. I don't agree
Yeah.
with all that. And that's the median. Like, I haven't really left an episode of any podcast and go, I like that guy less. I don't know. If you just let someone
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
gauge why they think the way they think, it's quite awesome. What do
mean-
you get out of doing the podcast? You two. Well,
What do you mean?
yeah. Well,
Uh,
what do you think you get out of it? Like, what are the positives out of the podcast? Minus the money.
I
The
mean,
huge bags.
yeah, massive. Thanks for the help carrying them out earlier.
Yeah.
It's it's a great question, dude. I like being creative.
So you're saying I'm a good host?
Yeah, really
Just
good.
put that on
really,
record.
really
Host.
fucking good.
I feel-
I like
I
creativity.
stole your show.
I love podcasts as an art form anyway. Like I actually love it. I love watching them. I love seeing the movement, where it's going, how it's changing, different elements, different segments. Like, I watch so many podcasts and listen, like insane amounts, but I'm an actual fan of it as a creator. I hate that term, creator, hate it.
No, but
like,
it's fair.
rarely do I watch or listen to any industry stuff, like mountain bike stuff. Like, I just don't. Like, I'm way outside of the box with like comedy and more entertainment and a bit of sport stuff, like NFL stuff. But yeah, I just love, and all, like, I'm also quite interested in business. So I love that you can turn what is a hobby, into a business, and just all of it, man. It's really hard to explain, but just the whole movement of it's really interesting. And how, I mean, it's, if you think, it's quite unique to be part of a growing media outlet. Like, this is almost going back to when radio first kicked off, and people would be like, what? Like, people are going to listen to this thing at home? Like, that's insane. And then look what radio became. And I feel like podcasting is that. Like, it's an early stage of something as big as radio and TV. I mean, it is. Like, podcasts are huge now. So it's been cool, and I think it's been quite addictive being part of that growth. Been literally one of the first
mountain bike.
Yeah, or first podcasting, really, in the grand scheme of things. Do you know what I mean? Like, how, like, loads start and don't go anywhere.
True.
So, yeah, I've been at the early stage of that and just watching it all grow and just seeing how, okay, like, the visual side of it now is way more important than it used to be. And then, okay, now, like, clips have become a thing on YouTube. Okay, cool. And then, like, okay, how do you then integrate brands? And also quite addictive, because it's like, okay, brands are now looking at this, whereas years ago they were like, oh, what, like, fucking kooky little nerd thing doing podcast talking. Whereas now it's like, there's no really, like, it's such a direct relationship with our listeners. Like, how can it not be interesting to brands, and just such a powerful thing to have built, if that makes sense?
So you like the challenge of it?
I just
like
love the
figuring things out, and the growth, and like, what are we going to do next? And okay, this.
Yeah, like, what are other creators doing? And not copying them, or sometimes had like ideas that it looks like other people have copied.
There's minimal new ideas in the world these days.
Yeah, totally.
To be fair.
Yeah, but that's kind of obviously
it is just repurposing old ideas, I think.
To have something which is a hobby and it's now a job is just the dream. Like, and I've always kind of prided. Is that a word?
Yeah, prided myself.
Can be myself on like having jobs like that and running businesses like that. It doesn't feel like a job. So the more you can hang out with my friends and like do this, the better, really, you know?
Yeah, and you've got to remember, you don't see it, but you're adding a lot of value. Entertainment, people are learning things, you're educating them. Then it's tough because you just think, okay, I'm hanging out with my mates, having conversations.
It's enriching, isn't it, for a sport to have
and
a
for
podcast.
yourself, yeah.
You know,
What do you get out of it?
Like me?
Yeah.
Honestly, dude, I don't sit and have a conversation. It's rare you have a conversation that's that intense. Like, I don't go to pubs. If I do, it's with multiple people. There's distractions, noises going on. I'm quite easily distracted. I'm quite scatty. You've got loads. Like, to actually sit and do a podcast, I have conversations with people. I feel like I know them better. One thing I'd liken it to was when I was younger, I never drank. And then I was like, from the outside, I was like, I can see it has value. Do you know what I mean? I can see that having a drink with someone from a bike brand or from some form of business, I can see it has value. It brings people together. Why? There's something in it. And like, kind of the same goes with podcasting. You like, it's by no means the same as having a drink with someone, but it's like you have a conversation, you get to a next level of knowing someone. That's not even just down to the data, like my favourite colour is green, I really enjoy this. It's like what that person, how they answer the question. Like, you feel like you've done something with someone. That's what I think anyway.
Yeah.
Makes sense. No, it does. You can learn so much from them. There's a lot to having deeper connections like that. That's universally makes you a happier person, having deeper connections and
definitely,
and all those things.
Like, we had a weird experience. For me, I had a weird experience through lockdown with you having the series, because it was like I really knew this dude, yet I'd met you probably a handful of times.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, in person.
Yeah.
In person a handful of times. Like, maybe we met 5 times at like bike shows or at like
not
events
even,
or whatever.
like,
probably not even. Yeah.
No.
But
like twice, really. There at your house, that was like the first time I met you, and then we met at Fort William really briefly. I was like, hey, yeah, like, and you were like, said a quick hello.
yeah.
And then
So how weird that is to So I think there was probably, for people listening to it then, they know better than I, because I can't even remember what we're talking about, but we were like meeting each other as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Like learning about like, because
It's
you
like
didn't know.
dating.
It's a
It's
dance.
like
You're
dating.
getting to know each
Dude,
other.
did not know.
Yeah, it's like
And-
dating.
And then like humor, like the thing about probably getting to know someone, probably the same for you, probably the same for you, is like humor is like the best way. So then you just end up making each other laugh. And
Yeah.
Well,
And then
hoping that, because then you
Yeah.
can relate. Because if they don't laugh at some of your humor, you're like, well,
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to be mates.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
Do you guys believe in serendipity?
Please tell me what.
Well, like things happen for a reason, or like trust in the universe, like you guys coming together.
I go back, right, okay. Quick anecdote. I always think of this. So, like, a podcast that I was listening to totally changed my life. So, I was listening to something on the way down as well, and this guy was talking about these, like, fractional movements in life and the way it can just change everything, totally change everything. Like, we could say something here now, this moment, and someone goes, oh, I'm going to go and do that, and their life
Butterfly effect.
is so
Pizza.
different.
Is that the butterfly
Get
effect?
pizza.
Get
Sorry to butt
pizza.
in.
Maybe
I think
now.
so, but it's
Okay.
like that little fraction, and they used it as like, he used the example of it as like two sticks with a little bend in it, and if you touch it that way, it exponentially, and it goes off into a different dimension, right? So I remember two things have happened with podcasts that have like been really like powerful. First one, driving on my own in Poland, hated my job, hated my life, hated the company I did, and this episode, it was a Rogan one with Duncan Trussell, and he was just literally talking about like following your dream, following your passion. And at that moment, I was like, right, I ain't doing this anymore. And fast forward, I got out of the company, absolute shit show, started a distribution company, started a podcast. It was like that one thing.
Wow.
And then another powerful thing happened, right? So I was doing the podcast, and it was like, I don't know how many episodes in, let's just say 30, right? And I had a guy on called Josh Perry, former pro BMXer turned nutritionist, and he was basically like a real advocate for the ketogenic diet. And I just found him on LinkedIn. I found him a super interesting guy. He'd had a brain tumor, which he'd like had surgery. Anyway, unwound it all. Had him on as a guest. Didn't really think much of it. Really interesting conversation, I think. Anyway, fast forward a couple of months. I'm at this bike show in Sheffield, Petey's Bike Bonanza. And this guy comes over, and he's emotional, like he's crying, to shake my hand. Make me a bit emotional now. And he's like, I just want to come and say thank you. He's like, you've changed my entire life. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like, just selling mud guards and shit. And he's like, no, you're like, your episode with Josh Perry helped me overcome this disease I think he had, or totally changed his life. He was like, I was overweight. Look at me now. I'm like riding my bike. And I think, honestly, like, those little things throughout doing this are such a motivator, because you're like, holy shit, like, two dudes just talking rubbish with a guest or whatever. It's like actually impacts people, like actually changes people's lives sometimes.
That's amazing.
Dude,
that got me.
big time.
I'm
Yeah.
like got goosebumps.
But
That's
it's like,
really
a
special.
massive thing. It's like, and at that point, you know, you're 30 episodes in or whatever it was, you've been there. You feel like,
Oh
fuck,
yeah,
no
like, I
one
don't
gives
know
a
if there's
fuck.
Yeah, no one's listening.
No one gives a fuck.
It's not
about
growing.
This. Yeah,
Like, what's the
it's
point?
stagnant. And then that one thing was like, okay, keep going.
Mate, 100%, you're
Yeah.
not alone. That's what podcasts give me.
Yeah.
You listen to someone who's like-minded, you're not alone. You might go through life being annoyed the whole time,
Yeah.
like, what? How's no one getting me? Why is this? You're not alone. You're just listening to someone who's like-minded, and they've got something to say. And hopefully we managed to cover that with all of the different guests
Yeah, I
and
think
stuff.
so.
And hopefully with our own outlooks, for all of us and for everyone that does it, I think like that's what it gives me, definitely, listening to them. I'm like, yeah, I find that funny.
Yeah,
I
I
find
often
that
feel
funny.
like with them, with listening to them, and sometimes doing it as well, it's like a little comfort blanket for me.
100%, yeah.
Little comfort blankets. Oh, these people are like my people. Like
Yeah,
they
yeah,
get
yeah,
me.
Your
and-
tribe.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's big, isn't
and
it?
I hope that that's what we're creating.
I
with
think
this.
podcast does form a tribe of like-minded people and stuff.
Yeah.
It's super interesting.
You don't get it walking down a street necessarily, though, do you?
in terms of.
Like those moments, I love it when I'm on a train and something happens and you laugh and you share a laugh with someone that you don't know. They happen very...
Okay.
Those are the moments I get from podcasts, but in real life, they
Yeah.
don't happen often.
True, it's fair, but when
Fart-
they do, it's
I
quite
swear,
powerful.
you could fart on a train and people would look super serious.
Mm.
You see the one person that laughs and it's like a nice feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is.
yeah. Those little moments, man. They're a lot. They mean a lot. Like
It's
it's
good
so
to hear,
silly.
but
It's
it
like
is,
doing
'cause-
that, and like the odd DM can just keep the whole thing going. Like,
Motivation
literally-
wise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
It is, eh?
yeah, you know, done it. Been in weird, dark places, and you just want your comfort blanket. You want to hear those friendly voices that are just having a bit of fun. And
So what?
I always think it's like the
podcasts
lighter
get
side
you-
of biking, but
Sorry, I
No.
almost did the cardinal butt in as you're about to say something important. Just seemed podcasts seem to be therapy for you as well through some hard times.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, we went through all that COVID stuff, right? Like, yeah.
but like
Thank-
listening to some other podcasts help
100%,
you
dude.
be like, because you go, hey,
Yeah.
I'm also that guy's struggling.
100%.
Dude.
People can really relate. Like
Big
one
time.
of my best episodes right in the beginning was Soderstrom. People think,
Banger guest.
dude, I mean, you think he's good looking, he's unbelievable on a bike, had all the best sponsors, and like, dude, he really struggled and
Yeah.
had panic attacks, and he was open and honest about it, and people are like thankful for people showing vulnerability, you know?
Totally.
I think it's even more than that. I think it's even the things that you say that you're interested in. That's what it is for me. I thought I used to feel stupid when I was younger for being like interested in animals. You know, like I'm really interested in animals. Now it seems ridiculous that I would ever worry about that. But I found podcasts and people talking about their interest in animals, and it was like, oh, it's okay. You can be like a jockey sports guy and also interested in,
Yeah. Totally.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
speed that
Yeah.
a black mamba can travel, or the
I didn't know
toxin
Love it.
in a white banded sea snake, or, you know, like all of those things. It's fine to, you can be both. You don't have to just be like wedgies and fucking.
It's quite a
Lifting
powerful thing when
weights.
you think about it. Like, what was it look like before podcast? Like you were in your own little bubble. You thought you were a bit weird, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't find these alternate views because you could get really deep into this, but it's like mainstream media, that's it. Okay, you want to listen to a certain music, okay, you have to try and find it on the radio, you have to go buy CDs or whatever. No one really talks about it. But like I remember finding podcasting and just being like, oh my God, like people are having thoughts that I've never thought about. And like, okay, you can do things a little bit different.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
whether it's business
I never
stuff or
thought about it
lifestyle
like
stuff,
that.
and like my whole life definitely changed since discovering people talking about
Likewise.
all these different things that you just never even
Yeah.
think about. Like,
My mates give me shit. They're like, oh, did you hear that on a podcast again? I was like, yeah, I guess I did. But I didn't hear it at university. I didn't hear it in
yeah.
a book. But why is that?
it's powerful.
Yeah.
Dude, you do nerdy golf. And if I was a kid who did nerdy golf, I want to hear from a guy that rides Darkfest jumps that he does, that he also likes nerdy golf, and it's okay to
Yeah, it's
be
kind of funny
super
because
gnarly
you said
and
something
nerdy.
about you can be two things.
Yeah.
You can be an idiot at Darkfest and I can wake up and read a book. Like I enjoy reading or
Exactly,
educating
yeah.
myself.
Be a dad.
People like, or being
So
a dad.
relatable.
Yeah.
I can say that's.
But I
can
think
say
that's
podcasts have
interesting.
given
You
me
can
that,
be
for sure.
conflicting things.
Yeah.
No, but you're the crazy downhiller. Yeah, but I can also be the conservative guy that, I don't know.
And how it's super interesting to have a platform like yourself where you can show that side of people. It's so sick.
Particularly when we were
People wouldn't
younger as
know.
well. I think less so now because of the existence of these things.
Yeah,
but when we
and
were
social.
younger, it was very important that you were kind of one thing.
Mm.
Yeah, you were too scared to show vulnerability or you're worried about what people thought about you. Though,
So
when you're
much,
younger,
yeah. When
right?
you're younger, I think naturally you are, aren't
No,
you?
it's a tough thing. And if people listening are young, like it is a natural thing to feel.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something maybe early on one of those episodes, like you got quite a lot of confidence from being good at biking.
Yeah.
And I think that did honestly help me. It's fake confidence, but it definitely got me through high school and it got me through talking to girls and it got me through, I don't know, not being scared to take a risk.
I don't think it's fake.
What?
I
Well, I
don't think
mean,
it's fake. I think
Like,
it's a.
well,
I
it
think
was helpful, but I mean, you should, when you're older, you should derive confidence not from the external world, you know?
but it's self-worth, dude. That's what I think. So like, I didn't think I was even. It's not about being good at biking. It's about knowing that you could do whatever you want. You're good enough to learn it.
Yeah, okay.
That's
Yeah,
what it
yeah,
was
yeah.
for me. It wasn't like I can do a backflip. I'm the man. It was like I can learn to do a backflip. So I'm
Is
the
that
same
a
as
now
everyone else.
Is
It's
that a
like,
now reflection or then? I don't think you thought that way when you were 20. I think you just did the backflip, thought you were hot shit, and you had confidence, which is fine. It's normal. And now you're reflecting to say, okay, what did I
Yes.
learn from being a good biker? I learned that I can do hard things, put my mind to things. And if I want to go and do something else, I probably could.
But I don't think it's because I thought backflips were cool. I think it was because I thought I can master something. I do actually believe that.
Yeah,
I
okay.
do
Yeah.
still think that, yeah.
Fair enough.
I think that an effect into life as well, right? Like then you think, I can do not anything, but like, why not start this business or do this thing or start this project or...
Yeah.
I think so. I think it has a massive knock-on effect if you've got that bit of confidence.
I was very shy when I was little.
It's hard to think.
Yeah, it's very difficult to imagine. Like even I can't...
That you were shy, yeah.
Yeah, I can't even... When I see it, I don't recognise that version of me. But I was very shy. And yeah, and I can only attribute that to like being good at stuff. It's not anything in particular, but it's just like learning that you're all right, I think. Weird, innit?
It does help build your self-confidence and self-worth, I guess. When you're young and you get a pat on the back and people are impressed that you can do something, then you're like, okay, well, I'm the biker, I can do things, or whatever. You know, the scholar at school. It does make you feel good. It must be tough if you haven't... Must be super tough if you haven't found something you can excel at yet. Because I think it's a yet. I think everyone has something they can be good at if they... put their mind to. But that must be super challenging. I was just lucky, you know. Sport came naturally, and then riding. And for you, it seemed like it's come later.
Yeah, nothing.
So you had some tough times, like driving through Poland.
Yeah, but not like good at anything.
Well,
I think
now you are.
You were good. You rode moto to a level,
like
didn't
pretty
you?
shit, like really, on the grand scheme of things. But I think what's cool about that is it sent me on a different path. So obviously, younger little Davy wants to be a pro moto rider. But Davy realises quite young, probably 14.
I love this third person shit.
Yeah,
Please
probably
carry this on.
14-ish, probably 14, 15. It ain't going to happen.
Why did he decide that?
Did little Davy go to
family's
the
got no
mirror and
money.
look in the mirror and verbalise that?
Yeah, little Davy's looking at himself.
This
like,
moto Davy's
he doesn't have a
not.
beard, and he ain't going to be a pro moto rider.
Beard isn't coming either, is it?
No, it's never come. But he's looking, and he's like, no, I think it's fucking cool, really. It's positive because, like, realise quite young, okay, that isn't going to happen, but realise quite young, really, right, how do you make a living around it? Okay, what other jobs are there? Okay, there's sales rep, or there's marketing guy,
Cool.
which back then was like not even, it was like placing magazine ads, I think. But it was really sick to realise quite young, okay, right, my dream job is to be a runner on a supercross team. That was like my dream job. That's the guy who goes and gets toilet roll, puts it in the thing.
Mate,
like,
we got some context. Let's make this happen.
yeah, exactly. Let's get out there.
Do a video on it.
Oh, I'd love to. Get me in there.
Well,
But that was
message
my
Jace, we'll get
dream
you
job,
in there.
mate, was to just go and just... I thrive quite good in a team environment like that, I think. I'm
Okay.
like, for the team. Like, the Formula 1 stuff yesterday was like... I'm a bit of that. More like planning and being there, though. Like, yeah, the guy that's running around getting stuff. Oh, do you need water? Like, all that. That was like my dream. And then it kind of sent me on this path. It's like, hey, like, you can do other stuff. Like, to make a living out of being around bikes, you don't have to be the pro rider.
No.
You can do the other stuff. Hence why we're here. You know, it started off as a sales rep into a camper van company and distribution company.
I mean,
and a
it's way
podcast.
Now
smart,
you're going
so-
full circle, aren't you? Decking out your van to be a camper van
Oh, yeah.
podcast studio. Full circle. Life is always full circle,
Yeah, true.
isn't
I
it?
guess, yeah. Mobile studio coming up, ish. So yeah, it's weird, man, when you think back because it's you just that realization, and here we are now. Like,
And Olly, people don't know. I mean, we were speaking about it yesterday. You haven't always been a pro biker earning money and having a podcast. Like, you were in the trenches, literally digging out basements for 6-7 years. Getting up at 5, driving to pick up your boss, driving him to London.
But it wasn't
And
even
then-
like... I didn't even think riding was... I didn't think it was possible. Despite
No, I know, but
being
I'm
best
just-
mates
you-
with Brent, I didn't really think... I thought you had to be like
Brent.
Brent.
Yeah, like
Well, I didn't
God's
ex-
gift to biking at the
Yeah,
time.
there wasn't really many opportunities. And actually, I think the UK was quite far behind because I remember doing a trail road trip to Germany. And I was like, these motherfuckers got houses. How have they all got houses?
From biking
He's
at
got
the time.
Adidas on his helmet. Yeah, and it was like, you could see that it was like, you know, the equivalent of you seeing the needles of Germany. And you're like, what, the needles of Germany's got a nice car.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on here? I'm sure you've had the same experience. but
Oh,
like,
yeah. I mean, that happened in America.
Yeah.
And those guys all had rides, and I was eating 2-minute noodles till I won a race.
What I think about now is that it's the UK is so like you go down this trodden path, and if you deviate from it, it's not going to work out. And like I think in other countries, I don't think it's the same. I think there's room for dreams and like fun stuff and things that are a bit maybe offbeat are more accepted. Whereas I think growing up, it was just like, well, there's not even any point in being trying to be a pro rider, because it's not going to happen first of all, and then you're never going to be able to survive and make enough money to even be a normal person, a subnormal person. So for years I was pursuing it, but kind of as a digging out basements at the same time.
How gnarly is that looking back at that?
Yeah, good though.
Is that
Good.
the worst job you've had?
Nah, it's good. I would still
you
do
like
it.
hard stuff, though,
Yeah,
which is
it's
great. That's why
Mate, it's
you
graft.
are
I like it. It's honest
consistently
graft.
happy, I reckon.
And like my boss then at the time taught me a lot about just how relentless you can be. Like, so
Work ethic.
Oh mate, yeah. If you when I met him, I didn't realise that you could just work until then. Like, he worked me so hard, and I was like, I'm all right. I'm still going to go home, and I'm going to do more. I'm going to do more. So I learnt to do graphic design in the evenings of getting back from London at super late. So I was like, but he really taught me that. He really taught me that you could just get up at 5 every day.
Yeah, if you want something, you just go and get it. What, the graphic design, just, like, how did you...
Yeah, I just like drawing.
Oh, through as a youngster.
Like drawing, that's probably the first thing that I thought I was okay at, was drawing, yeah.
Yeah, because people might not know, you've helped do some of Brendan's signature parts. You've got your own signature parts, but you do the design. You've done So speaking of that, we're on Moving the Needle channel. Ignore that. Olly did the logo.
Yeah, I've done lots of logos, actually.
Wow, a lot. And you're normally the unsung hero.
Yeah.
Other people getting royalties. You design the product, design all the stuff. But you got your own...
Well, I've always been interested in it, drawing and stuff.
The OW bars. Pump it up.
But like, I don't know. I don't know if it's... I don't know. I think I like... The biggest trouble, right, I think, that I constantly battle with is being... I probably would imagine you're the same. It's like making something that you really enjoy into... When you actually monetize it, it's like, man, I'm not... You lose something, you know? You like. I like drawing. I like drawing stupid stuff. Yeah. Not necessarily like... I don't know if I'd enjoy like drawing a diamond nail salon logo or making a council leaflet. I think it might take away the drawing fun. And the same goes for a number of things.
It's a fine line.
That's the challenge with making anything a job.
Yeah.
And there becomes things you actually don't want to do. You lose the passion. Biking as well, there's part of it.
And to bring it back, basements, there's no, like, you know what you're doing. You're digging out a basement. Hard graft. You can't get away from it. It's what it is. If the sun's shining, you've got some good music on, you're grafting, it's not bad. Like, some of my favourite trips now are like Mexican street race builds and like Rampage. And I'm literally bolting down wood, digging out rocks. What is wrong with me? Do you know what I mean?
There is something fulfilling to that simple hard graft. Like
there?
Getting home after a hard day's work, it just feels better to sit on the couch. You know, if you feel, you speak to many people that have done well or whatever, and they try retire, and it's just not fulfilling. They've got all the money in the world, but they've got nothing to live for, right?
Yeah.
And at least like back in the day, I think evolutionary, like hard craft was how you made a living. It's how you protect your family. It's all those things. I think it's hard. I personally think it's hardwired into us.
I do.
And that's why when you go through... The
internet is fucking hard.
Yeah.
I 100% with you.
Yeah, and if you see a lot of people that go through tough times, like the first thing they're advised to do is get in the gym, go exercise, get sunlight, get good sleep. Like, it's quite basic stuff from an evolutionary standpoint, I think.
Yeah.
And that's why I think you're like, oh, actually, it's weird. I like hard stuff. Like, well, you're lucky that you like hard stuff because you probably have a really good baseline.
Less evolved is what I think it is. It's like
more ape-like. You're more ape-like.
You can
more
see it, though,
ape-like, more Neanderthal.
It brings all the things that you love together, that sort of stuff. It's like the hard work of the building, obviously, the riding, content, you kind of like sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
Like the art of the content as well,
absolutely,
like the creative side of it. Building the feature, seeing the outcome, watching the thing, like it brings all of it for you.
Yeah.
You see why you love it. Like, it's sick.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It's going back as well. Sorry.
Please do, because I didn't have a question there, and I was meant to host. I was
No. Going back, it's like I remember doing a lot of episodes early years, right? And like a lot of the guests, I'd be like, you need to start a podcast, which is how we kind of connected. I think that was like
100%. I came on yours,
yeah, and I was like, mate, you need to do something.
And you were like, you need to do a podcast.
Yeah.
Like, what? I had this idea 15 years ago.
I think what was cool
Thank you,
with
Davi.
this was like, I kind of, with the greatest respect, I was like, Ollie ain't going to do it on his own. It was kind of like looking for that opportunity, because at the time with the Hook It one, I was doing these little offshoot series, and like a lot of them were. One of them was to get me a bike to ride because I couldn't afford one. So I did like behind the bike. It was like I got a free bike to ride. Cool, all good. And like I did like one with Macduff, the book one, trying to like do all these like offshoots. And then I remember obviously when lockdown hit, it was like, right, who's the perfect guy to just do something with? Obviously it's Ollie. We've already got this bit of a thing going. We've had a few funny text messages exchanged and blah, blah, blah. And then from then it was like, I don't know, it sounds really kooky, but like, I felt like what would you call it? There's a word for it. Not duty, but I was like, I actually want Ollie to do this because he's going to be so fucking good at it.
Yeah, you
like,
saw.
Yeah, I was like, there's something there that like the world needs this. Like it needs to happen. And then, yeah, here we are. And I guess it kind of like evolved because obviously we did the lockdown stuff. We then did a series called Where's Ollie? Which again, we were kind of, I guess, like having this like, there's something here. Where can it go? And then I was like, okay, I'm going to pitch something to Focus. The worst pitch you've ever seen. Like, it was so bad. But Focus were like, actually, like, obviously they're starting to see a bit of a like, okay, every episode there's bikes in the background and like the brands out there and like
they got it early, didn't they?
Yeah, I was like doing little bits with them as well. I got a bike, you know what I mean, and stuff, and then pitched them this idea of Where's Ollie, which we tried. I think we did a few episodes. It was really gnarly hard because you were all over the world at that point.
Yeah, and it was like, it wasn't weekly, so we didn't have that
once
sort
a
of
month.
like ongoing.
Yeah.
So because that ongoing thing is like, I think super important.
Yeah.
It's like,
but that was the first time for me that I'd like had an idea, come up with a concept for a show, like a real one, not just to like, because I'm a bit impulsive. I'm like, I'll do this, and then tomorrow I do it. Whereas this was like a bit more thought out, got someone to draw all the character. Remember the Where's Ollie character? It was actually cool. And then then we went back into lockdown and we were like, okay, let's just carry on what we were doing anyway. And then I guess I don't know what happened to
You're
Where's
a hustler,
Ollie.
huh?
I don't know. I don't know
It's cool.
happened
It
to Where's
shows you,
Ollie.
like, you just keep hustling.
But it was like, there's just something here. Then we just
Something
came
will
up with a
come of
better
it.
name and like, yeah, next thing you know, we're doing this. That's not next thing you know. It's kind of like evolved, obviously.
What would you say to like youngsters that don't have direction yet? Because it's obviously, I mean, my nephew's 16, 17, and he's talking about university and his interests, and
Yeah.
I feel such an obligation to try to give good information to him and educate him on it, but he's going to have to make the decision himself. You know?
Yeah, probably the
And
worst.
It's really is tough in this day and age.
Yeah, I think you've literally, it's so kooky. But my advice is literally just follow whatever your passion is, because it changes so much. It's going to change. Like I think I kind of feel sorry for some people who have this idea young of like, okay, I'm going to be an X career, and then you go to university, you get in all this debt, and then you do this job, and then it ends up being a bit crap. And you don't actually like it, and then you like, you know, you get in that rat race of house, more, you know, whatever, and you've got to do this thing.
It's so dangerous.
It's bloody
man.
hard to like make a change.
My
It's really
advice is like,
difficult.
you can take a lot of risk when you're young, so you should be trying so many different things, like odd jobs when you're 16 and going, I want to be a lawyer. Okay, but why? If you can answer like why, give me a really good answer, we could think about it. But if it's just the money or prestige, that's not going to get you through the long nights. But then go intern at one. Can you intern one for like 2 months and really see what does a day-to-day look like?
Yeah.
Can you put up with a day-to-day?
Totally.
Let alone getting in and passing the exams and all that. Because that's
important.
one example, because I know there's quite a lot of lawyers that get into it for the wrong reason and they quit and they change. And people change careers 6 to 7 times
Really, yeah.
average or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Could be butchering that, but if you say it with confidence as a host,
Yeah.
people believe it.
Probably right.
But
Yeah,
it is
you're
a
right.
challenging thing to say, but I like the idea, if you really don't know what you're going to do, and there's
no
a way
rush.
to do a gap year, but go and work, go and volunteer, go work for free, or
I feel
go
like
try
anyone you
different
talk to
jobs.
that's similar ages to us will say, I still don't know what I want to do.
Yeah.
I'm just doing
Yeah.
whatever feels right at
That's
the time.
another good thing. Is like everyone's actually just figuring it out.
Yeah.
Like no one actually knew until they started, learned, and then they know. Like everyone ahead of you knew what they're doing, made no mistakes. Like, nah, it's not like that. You know,
I think
read enough biographies, you can see how some of it was luck. It's hard work, it's graft, it's luck, it's mistakes, it's failing 7 times, and then the company works. It's interesting, eh?
It needs to be fun enough that you do it for free. That's why I think.
Yeah, but is that realistic? I don't think that's realistic for everyone. I don't think that's fair. Like for everyone.
I do, because you just follow something. It's not going to happen straight away, and you're not going to get loads of money for it straight away, and it might not even work. But if it's fun enough, it doesn't matter.
So if it's fun enough, you do it so much you get good at it, because you have to get good at something to get paid for it.
It can't fail, and if you work harder than other people, then
it's good motivation.
I don't know. Maybe that all sounds corny, but I do kind of think it. I think like you have to be willing to do it for free. You have to be able. It has to be fun enough.
Yeah, in a perfect world. But I honestly think I don't know, it's not realistic for everyone in the world. Maybe it's
you can
too
always
cynical
subsidise
of
it
me.
though. Like maybe you have to do a shitty job just to subsidise doing. If you go back to doing this, I mean, it ran for 5 years making nothing.
Yeah, that's a side hustle. That.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you're right. It's a side hustle, but the long goal was it wasn't going to be a side hustle.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Was it though? You would have done it for free.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I did it for free.
Yeah.
5 years, just like just carry on. I don't know.
But like even when we were doing lockdown,
No, I hear you on that.
weren't interested in
Ollie, I
making-
think if you're battling to make a decision and you're like at a crossroads, like I would do a few things for free. Commentary, like if someone, I wouldn't want to fly around the world for 20 million events for free, but if someone just transmitted to me the booth, I'd do it for free.
Yeah.
I would have a conversation with you for free. No one has to pay me to be here. There's a byproduct. So I understand what you're saying.
Kids though, man. If you're out trying to film your mates riding, don't be approaching brands and trying to get money. Do it for free with your mates.
Agree.
Like,
People
learn your art. Like do it for why you do it all for the right reasons first. I'm not saying do stuff for free forever. I don't mean it by that like that at all. But
I think that's the knock-on effect of all the social media stuff in a way. Kids the younger generation seem to just expect that everything gets paid for. It seems that way.
Straight away, like
yeah.
TikTok.
100%.
Instant, like, okay, we get so many emails like this. Like, obviously, you probably do with your bike shop, us as a company as well. Most days you get like, I'm 30, and it's great. Like, you're a hustler. I was doing it probably at 13 as well. Young up and coming motocrosser, can you send me some stickers or some kit? Like, but they're like, oh, can you pay like some travel? It's like, just try and do it because you love it, and the rest will hopefully follow.
Yeah, there's also another saying like, be so good they can't ignore you.
Yeah, be undeniable. Yeah,
Undeniable.
Yeah. So
being undeniables. I think, that's so good, being undeniable. And I feel like again, not to relate it back to what this is or was, but it's if you make a good product and you build it, people will come.
yeah, and if you're authentic, like you say, if you're enjoying it, it will shine through, right, Ollie? Maybe that's what I misunderstood. Like if you're enjoying it, the product will be better. It will shine through that you're authentic, you're enjoying it.
I do agree that it sounds corny and it sounds completely like it's, encouraging like stupid behaviour. But I don't mean it in that way. I mean it like, you can pursue stuff in just different manners. It doesn't have to be instantly earning you money. Do it in your spare time and pursue things that you enjoy. Like you can simultaneously pursue any number of different things, really, can't you? You can have your podcast, you can be pursuing some sort of like degree, and you can be doing manual labour all at the same time. They're 3 very different things you could be doing.
Effort is free.
Yeah, nice.
Joe Barnes.
Effort is free.
Effort is free.
True story.
So good. Why did you decide to start your podcast?
Oh, he's out hosting you.
No, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Why did like we've probably spoke about it,
Yeah,
but like
dude.
I'd be interested to know like why did you start it and
No,
why have you
I'm taking over.
why like,
I listen to podcasts like you guys relentlessly on the road, and I've still got the email from the Parkin brothers that were doing the videos on Trek in 2010, and the subject line is the mic you'll never buy, because I was like, this podcast thing, like we should be doing one at the races. Like there's motocross podcasts, there's business podcasts. We should do a podcast because we're already doing video and highlight things and stuff. So yeah, I still got the email and never bought that mic, but I did buy a mic. So Parkins, screw you guys, I bought the mic. But I think you actually pushed me over the edge, and sometimes you need someone to say, hey, give it a go.
Yeah.
Or like you say, hey, you enjoy it? Go do some work in the holiday. So
And you
I've
can
always
often see
had
the angle as
idea,
well.
and then
That's
you
not.
said, you were like, just do it. And I was like,
Yeah.
fuck, maybe he's right. And then COVID, it was COVID,
Okay.
silver lining.
Yeah.
And I'd listen to Tim Ferriss, like how to start a podcast, how many episodes to like have in the bank to like get you over the hump, like. And I was like, okay, what's the worst that can happen? I love that as well. Like, what's the worst case that will happen with this decision you make if you're really battening? And if you can be honest about it and deal with that worst case, then maybe you should pursue it, you know? And I was like, okay, what's the worst case? Like, I buy a mic, and I do 6 episodes, and then I stop, and I look silly, and I sucked. And I'm like, okay, well, I can live with that. So
it's so
started
sick to see how many there are now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really cool.
It is cool.
It's a shame that some of them aren't carried on. There's definitely been a few been involved in,
and
and
I
it's
like
like, should
the
be doing that.
camaraderie. Like, you guys are so helpful. You like, just start one. I'm like, but I'm competition to you. What do you mean I should start? It's like, no, it's not. It's like, if we all make the pond bigger.
Yeah. Rising
then,
ship
you know,
lifts all tides.
Yeah, exactly.
We did have the group, didn't we? We had a little WhatsApp group with everyone in it, all the mountain bike podcasts. That was pretty sick.
And like Chris from Downtime, like he was like, hey, I enjoy your stuff. Like, I think you've got an audio level. Like, I use this software. I'm like, wow, that's really nice of you. Now we're chatting and engaging. And if someone messages me, like I was helping someone at home, like they were thinking about it. I was like, okay, this is how it's probably going to go. Like, you need a mic, you can borrow my old one. Like, you probably need to just do a few that you expect no one to listen to. And whatever, you know, you go through this whole thing. Like, what's the worst case? Okay, you can deal with that. Like, then start something, you know?
Sick.
And it is just a cool, I guess I just got so much from podcasts.
Yeah.
It feels like you're giving back. And the sport.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys feel the same. I've been given so much from the sport. Maybe it's my way to like leave the sport a little bit better than I found it.
Probably like our angle of the sport as well. I think that's important to put out. Like what it is to us.
Yeah.
It might not be everyone's cup of tea, but you just got to be honest with that, aren't you, as well? Like, honest with yourself and honest with like making the content of like, no, this is what it is. I like to think it's just like the lighter side a little bit. Like,
yeah, true.
You know, we don't go too deep into tech or,
you
know, numbers.
I think we'd had like so many years being so hungry for more content in the sport. Like, you saying the Parking Brothers brings me back. I'm watching Dirt TV. I'm hoping for a Bren clip, a Needles clip, all my homies clip. Like, is Bernard going to make Dirt TV? And like, you wanted more. If there had been a podcast then, I would have absolutely listened to
could you
everything,
imagine?
dude. I was hungry for it. Yeah, I wanted to watch Samuel. I wanted to hear about his lines and what people were doing up on the hill. You know, I was like, I'm less so now, weirdly. I think I have fewer horses in the race now. It used to just be...
That's why you like Greg. He's almost your last horse.
Mate, it's kind of like that, yeah. I watch the races and I'm very much looking forward to Greg, BK. I love watching all the youngsters.
BK,
I love watching all of these guys and even some of the other riders that I know a bit.
You're not having a beer with him after the race. You'll have a beer with him, but you're not, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So that's the difference. And you feel like
horses.
they're your mates. They're like people that you sit down with and that you've hung out with and you're watching. It made the races so much more exciting to me. So it was easy for me to be a fan.
Yeah.
Because I grew up watching live timing, Brendan's results were like on a, internet.
Same. I wake up for school, my dad's printed the results.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm making a story out of the result times.
Mate.
Of World Cups.
And then you wait for a month later and then there's
we are
like,
now.
Yeah.
What do you mean the live timing isn't out? The race finished 35 seconds ago.
Unbelievable.
Where is the highlights video?
Yeah, it's so true. You used to wait a month for a magazine to come out and you might see a picture of the race to see whether it was raining. You know, it's like mental.
The footage was 6 months to a year later of the video of that season.
Yeah.
And then we burned through those tapes.
Nuts. I think it all just seems to help the sport. I don't know. I don't feel any real, I don't know how you put it. I don't feel any pressure or anything like that, but obviously doing what we're doing and it been a decent size, there is a bit.
Yeah, what pressure do you feel?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like there's definitely been some. There's more pressure is like not, the thing is with the bike industry, it's quite small. Everyone knows everyone to some extent. So you do walk a bit of a line of like, you don't want to upset. Like we were joking about before, like we'd love to just like take the brakes off. Let's just have some like fun with certain things, but you can't like, so there's that little bit of pressure sometimes, you know, you want to be true to the sport, true to the whatever it is, like, you know, but I wouldn't say there's any like real pressure other than the pressure that I probably put on myself to just like be more me. Like don't be a fake version. Been there, done that. It's horrible. Like definitely did that in the early years of the podcast. It was like a fake version. It was like this internet version of myself. That was like
persona.
Massive, and you know, you'd like nod along to things you didn't understand. Do you know what I mean? That makes sense. Like,
yeah, definitely.
Remember that video? And you're like, oh yeah, and then in your back head, you go, I ain't got a fucking clue what he's talking about.
Yeah.
It's like, no, just be like yourself now. Like, and I've found way more, especially with video and stuff. You can't hide. Like, you can't hide behind this platform. You can't be someone you're not. Like, it's gonna come out in the wash. So you've kind of just got to be you, and I think that makes it way better because you're not trying to be something that you think people want.
Yeah, it takes age and experience to be able to do that, I think, for sure.
For sure, dude. I've been there and done that. Like the early years of doing the podcast, it was like I was broke. Couldn't afford living with my parents, obviously, but like couldn't afford a bike. And it was like a fake version of me in a way. I'm kind of, you know, all right to admit now, but I was just like pretending. I was going around bike shops and like, oh, you ride this weekend? I'd be like, I didn't get out this weekend, but really, it's like I couldn't afford a bike, and it was just like this fake version. Whereas now it's just like, this is just actually who I am.
It's so empowering, yeah. It's difficult, but it's so empowering. To
Yeah.
Like, okay, well,
just
can't please
unapologetic.
Everyone.
You can't please everyone.
If you want to be a decent human, you know.
Yeah.
You don't want to be a piece of shit and be like, well, not everyone's going to like me. It's like, I don't think anyone does right now, and. Yeah.
It's got to be yourself, and like make the content that you want to make that you think people are like. And if they don't, it's quite okay. Like,
what's it like taking feedback or looking at some of the comments?
Pretty good. Yeah, I think we don't seem to get much. There's bits. There's going to be with the internet and a decent sized audience, especially after a few things recently. But like, yeah, I don't mind. I love feedback. Like, people do email quite a bit and be like, oh, will you talk about this? Or I'm upset you didn't talk about that. Or, you know, half the battle with this, it's like, because of where we record, we're not, like, you're like, you did the Mega, you've watched the Leger race, and then you've recorded already an episode about the Leger race. Like, that's on point. Like, we don't have that ability at the moment. Because of where we record, it's like, okay, we're a week behind, and then people do get a bit like, oh, you've not spoke about that race. It's like, we can't, like, physically can't do it. Like, yeah, we'll just be slaves to the laptop. And
talk us through that a little bit, because I don't think people understand with an episode coming once a week. They think, oh, you just do work once a week. Like, once a week is it's full time. Yeah, it's a full time to do it properly, right? Yeah, talk us through that and the pressure of committing to once a week.
Yeah, it's quite a lot. I mean, we seem to be getting in a relatively good routine at the moment, which is, for people who don't know, I live 4.5, 5 hours from here. So I come down to the studio every 2 weeks and we record 1 or 2 episodes. Then I go home and then rinse and repeat. But yeah, there's a lot. Like, we're really lucky we've got these 2 amazing humans
who refuse to go the other side of the camera, both of them.
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
So we're in a, we are in a relatively good little routine now, and it can only get easier. I think the goal's always been to have more time. Like, down here, it's always a bit rushy.
It is. It's a shame because I'd love to just hang out and go riding, but it just doesn't happen. Does it?
But it will.
It will. Yeah.
Once we get in,
you got to just schedule it. Come on, guys.
Mate, we do.
You got to schedule.
Do biking
Monday
down here.
Afternoon must be biking.
Yeah, but it just depends on, like, it takes me ages to get here. We've got a guest come in. It's like, it's just like, it's so hard.
Have you thought about moving closer?
No. Next question.
He gets asked that a lot. Wow.
Yeah, I get asked that loads.
Defensive much.
The guy last night was like, oh, so you live down here now? I was like, no, I'm not moving down here.
No, I mean, I'm not saying you should. You really enjoy it there. You don't.
Yeah. got family, friends, you
Ah,
know how it is.
It's a whole like your whole
2 friends up
network
there.
is it?
And
2 friends. Your
Both-
missus being one
both
of them, and the dog being the other one.
Yes,
Okay.
they're both up there, so we can't move too far. Obviously,
I got lots
it'd
of
make
friends at
things
home.
easier,
Got a
but
dog and 2 bunnies.
and a
Oh,
little
and
boy.
a kid now. Sick. And my wife.
Dude, obviously
Yeah,
it'd
I'm
make
stoked.
things easier, but I actually love how we're doing it. It works so good for me.
Awesome.
I get time in the van, driving down here, listening to stuff. I wanna
Listen to other
Listen to
podcasts.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check in on some of these questions.
which is mad because like even before I was looking on my app. I'm like, okay, what can I listen to on the way home? Especially in the new van, sick. I can actually hear it, whereas before I couldn't hear it. So-
Yeah, it's tricky, really, man. I always feel guilty that you have to travel this far. But like, I think, I do
wouldn't be here if I didn't
kind
want
of think, yeah, absolutely. And I do kind of think that all of the pressure is actually brought on by ourselves.
Yeah,
and like to
totally.
do weekly content, anyone you speak to does weekly content is like stretched. You
Yeah.
know, you speak to like,
But like
Like
you
Pilg,
you
Matt.
put that on yourself. How funny is
all
that?
of it's
Yeah.
us,
It's all
or
our
me,
own-
or
Yeah.
yours, but yeah.
Me, of course.
No, but like I'll get home now. It's a good example. So it's Tuesday. Let's say I leave with the episode. I don't know if I do, but usually I'll leave Tuesday and I've got Wednesday's episode on my laptop. I will then go home and then work literally all night to get something out for, like you were saying, 7 a.m.
but I think it is much
That is
appreciated
literally-
by people.
I
But
But
don't
that's
know.
like we've just made that deadline ourselves.
It's
Yeah.
all in my head. 5:55 a.m. is in my head. 5:55 p.m. for the YouTube, only in my head.
yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter really. Like it's
But
okay.
it keeps you accountable, and
I
that's
like
how
it.
you get stuff done.
But that's a little
It's
bit
consistent.
of OCD, or
It
it's
is,
a
but-
bit of that.
But it's consistency builds.
It's a
things over
useful
time.
tool. Absolutely, yeah.
Consistency is key, and that's back to that whole thing about kids trying to figure out their lives. Like, but you got to stay consistent.
And
You
it
gotta
kind of
keep the
goes back
work
to
in.
like when you'd watch TV and you'd be like, oh, EastEnders is on at 7. It's not on at 8. It's on at 7.
Oh, that's
Do you know what I mean? Like, or whatever show you like. You're like, okay, yeah, Jackass is on it.
What
8
did we
PM.
do?
Yeah, like I chose 7 a.m., right? Or whatever, 6 a.m. Okay, so early on Tuesday, then you know it's coming Tuesday. Like if I just chose 9, like if I had stuff to do, I could wake up at 7 and get it done. But because I choose 7, I've got to wake up at 5 or 6 some mornings, and I'm like, what are
Do people message if it's not out?
Sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well annoyed.
Normally my brother.
You're like,
He's
I respect you've
awesome.
sent the message,
He's
but
like,
I'm
oh, I
like,
see you lazy. You haven't got the episode out. Like, I'm on the way to work. But he's getting me because he's going to the shop. So he's like on the way to work and he wants.
yeah.
He's actually really good. He listens to your guys' stuff as
People
well.
will be like,
a lot,
oh,
not
your
mine.
episode's not out. Like, mate, if you have any idea the night I've had.
Yeah.
He's sat behind this laptop all day.
Do you mean John T. Neethling, the bar turned world champ? Is that who you're talking about?
The most talented Neethling in the house.
Is
Correct.
he a fan of your podcast as well?
He's awesome. Yeah, he
That's
listens
so
a lot. I didn't
sick.
expect him to, but he religiously listens to.
You ever
both of
seen
us.
John ride?
No.
John's a trail boss.
Trail
dude.
boss.
Yeah.
I haven't got it. He's like, I need to get him on mine, but he.
Yeah,
he's
you
like-
do.
He hates being in the like, sort of front of camera.
I'd listen to you two going hard at each other. I would. That'd be brilliant.
But like, I
fun.
need him to not feel the mic.
Yeah.
I hear you. Yeah.
Like if you listen to myself and him in the bike shop or off camera talking about the race,
mate, I
it's
bet.
like, I just wish he would. Maybe after I'll get him a few whiskeys or something.
Mate, that'd be cool. Great guest. Though.
No, I need to, but I kind of need to get the
sustainable.
in-person. I need to get the in-person thing going with him. Yeah, maybe he'll enjoy it and he can
Sustainable.
come on
Start it as an extra.
more. Yeah,
You know what I mean? I think it'd be.
Yeah.
I'd love to listen
I
to
have to
that.
just have to force him into it.
Imagine all the stories. I do. We've had Henry on before, haven't we?
First guest in the studio.
Yeah, he was, wasn't he? Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
He sort of built it, didn't he?
Yeah.
He bought his own house.
But I'd love for him to because if he's going hammer time at me, I think it would be so entertaining. But you can't like create that
No.
that
It's hard
level
to
of
create, but
It is, isn't it?
does come, it seems.
It'll come over
Yeah.
time, I
Yeah.
think. You start getting
And I love
comfortable.
that
You start
about
getting
this.
comfortable here, have a beer or two or whiskey. I mean, you're gonna
Yeah.
you start forgetting. You like
yeah.
because you can maybe rile them up, you know. But
I feel like
you get it.
This place is dope. It's so cool. It's a bit more like organized. Whereas when we were at the old place,
Ollie was saying he
It'd
said
just
you
be
were
like-
such a hangout.
oh, people would
Yeah,
just,
because
oh,
we'd hang out of it out of podcast.
remember what
time.
Darren
It was
came?
like,
Darren from Saks just like was,
yeah,
oh, do you want to just come on the podcast? He was like, what? Like, yeah, just come and sit down.
we need to get dialed. It's my bad.
just be on. It was really cool.
It's so damp in there now.
Yeah, I can
We need to-
imagine.
we'll get it dialed. We'll get it
Not
dialed.
stoked.
So what's
Doug and Naomi can have
so-
their entire house back.
speaking of takeovers, and you asked me, but dream podcast guest, Davey.
Travis Pastrana.
Oh yeah, good.
Travis, Jeremy McGrath, Donald Trump. I'm joking. I'm not going to say that. I just want to tank
Wait.
your episode.
What? You just want to?
Joke, I'm
No.
joking. No.
Love
Travis,
him or hate him, he went on. Have you heard of the
Logan's.
All In podcast? No, Donald Trump.
Yeah.
He went on a podcast.
Yeah, he did. He did Logan Paul's.
He's done Logan.
Yeah.
Oh, he's done this other business one I listened to.
Oh, really?
I mean, he's obviously trained, but like, love him or hate him.
As a
I'm
bloke
not saying anything.
or a...
I understood him more after 40 minutes. I was like, huh.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Okay.
closer to the same, aren't they? Even Donald Trump.
Yeah, you're like, I think we can relate to some of it. But everyone be like, no, we can't. Like, okay, well, listen to him for an hour and see. Let him just speak on his own about certain topics. You're like, huh.
Yeah, I don't know. Going back, sorry. That was more of a tactical tank.
Pastrana.
Yeah, Travis, McGrath. I think it'd be hard, but I'd say Palmer would be dope.
Oh, Palmer's mine.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I've got his jersey there. Like it's
Yeah.
like where the serendipity is
It's just
like
gotta
aligning.
happen.
We text on Instagram.
Oh,
a bit,
mate.
And I
it's
was
the
telling
one.
you, I was like,
I wouldn't take that from you
please.
either.
Yeah,
Not that there's
please don't.
competition, but
You heard it, yeah, please don't.
yeah, they wouldn't do that. Petey as well would be pretty cool.
Yeah, PDs as
But-
well.
Petey be rad, wouldn't he? Yeah.
Yeah,
Petey's
but
so
yeah,
cool.
Travis. I mean, he's here
Yeah,
next week
PD.
apparently, so
Who Pastrana?
yeah.
Sick.
Goodwood, Festival of Speed.
I mean, honestly, we
Apparently.
ticked off
Just
some
take
bangers,
it-
though. Eh?
Take an iPhone and just put it in his face. No, you guys have had bangers for
the,
sure.
the chance
What's
to
your-
sit down with people is so cool, and then like when you get like surprises,
Yeah.
and you find like
What's a dream one then for you though? Got to have
I
one.
don't know, I don't really.
What about fighting a kid guy, or someone outside industry, or some animal lover, David Attenborough?
Nah, 'cause
You
I
love your
honestly
animals?
don't know. Attenberry.
Did I say that wrong? What is it?
Don't worry about it.
Attenbury.
Dude.
What is it?
Attenbury.
What did I
David
say?
Attenborough.
Burrow.
He's like,
Did I say Berry?
yeah, you can't say that. We're in England. You
I'm
might
not-
as well be
you-
on the
I'm
money.
not- yeah.
He's a national treasure, dude.
He's amazing.
Isn't he? Yeah.
Wow. Burrow. Sorry.
No, I
Sorry,
actually
UK
don't know.
fans.
To your question, I don't know who it would be a dream one, because I find every single one sort of really interesting in different ways, and I don't know if I'm not that much that guy. Like if you said, Michael Jordan is a hero, I don't really necessarily want to sit and talk
I
to
do.
him that much.
I do.
I tell you what, if
He
Travis
loves
was
his
sat
golf, mate.
Yeah, there
I'd
you go.
love
Yeah,
to talk
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
Jordan.
big sticks, if Travis was there, it'd be hard.
Yeah, it
Dude,
would be hard.
it'd be
but
so
It's
hard.
saying dream guest, but it's like it'd also be a dream nightmare.
it would be very.
Unless-
I mean, I would be
No.
quaking. If Travis was there, I'd be like,
No,
how
unless
did
you
start
take him for a
noticing
ride
that?
first. Then you do the experience.
Yeah,
Coffee
totally.
shop, ride.
I say-
Loves
I
his
mean,
biking.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it
You,
wouldn't.
you
I don't
remember
know.
that story? I biked with him and then crashed so hard after the ride at Whistler that I forgot the ride with him.
Oh mate, I remember the year.
I remember he crankworks, didn't he?
Yeah, because he flipped in a A-line race
Yep,
or something.
that's
Yeah.
the year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Giant brought him out there.
Yeah.
He's awesome, dude. You wouldn't you'd shit yourself, and then a minute later you'd be like, oh, he's just
Tell you what though,
one of the boys.
just blokes.
I had
Like,
dinner
just
with him.
people. Like
It's
they're-
fine.
it's just
You put
there'd
them on
be
the
a bit-
pedestal,
yeah.
and like there's only a few.
And
that
whenever you
like.
meet these people, I mean, we've had guests on here that like, bucket list, or they are like we've had some people like fucking hell.
Who would you say is the biggest, most well-known guest off the top of your head?
Brendan's.
Danny Mac.
Yeah, Danny Mack's been.
Danny Mac came here.
No, not here. No, we did that virtual, but we'll. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's huge. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
Pilgs,
mainstream.
massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brendan's.
Yeah, but you
pretty-
guys know. Yeah, but you know them.
Yeah, I know.
It's
Yeah, it's
someone
different,
that you
isn't it?
don't know, like
Yeah.
a Pastrana.
Yeah.
Because Brendan and Danny Mac are like Danny Mac's like the Pastrana of.
It's different for me
mountain
because
biking.
these Bernard, Brendan are people that going back a few years, I'd be like bucket list. Oh my god,
Yeah.
got Brendan on. Whereas now it's a bit like, oh, do you want to just
Oh,
do the podcast?
Hey, we can't find a guest. Can you, Olly? It's Brendan
So
free.
it's changed a lot, but it kind of still hasn't. Because for me, I haven't grown up with them. Do you know
No,
what I mean?
true, fair
I
enough.
mean, we went for coffee with Brendan Fairclough this morning. Still like, to me, it's still a bit like fucking hell. That was pretty weird.
Yeah, it is like that.
It's
like
just different,
I
like-
phone like if I like hang out with PD sometimes, I'm still like,
Yeah. What?
Yeah,
What?
Yeah.
So just me and you having a schnitzel and a beer here. It's just like
Yeah.
it's
Weird, huh?
It's
Just blokes.
as it's deserved. He is like that big of a character.
We did the Billy Bolt one. I didn't know him that much, and that was quite like.
Yeah, you mentioned that. How was
Yeah.
that? You feel like you got to know him though by the end of the podcast?
Definitely,
You guys
definitely.
like,
but I was like already a
fan.
fan, you know. But I wasn't like, the thing is, I'm a Billy Bolt fan. I wasn't like a fan of his sport, and I didn't want to do it an injustice. Talk about it, you know, get it wrong. You know, when you hear people from one thing talk about another sport, and you're like, oh, dude, you've not really done your research enough. I didn't want to
rugby.
be that guy.
Like rugby.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Great example.
Did you have a rugby guest?
Yeah. We had Luke.
Should have asked me. It's high school rugby. Oh, not high school. It's too small.
We should
Lower
have.
school rugby. Primary school rugby.
Yeah, you'd have brought the heat.
Can you believe that?
You were in rugby.
I played rugby.
Lower school, maybe. Yeah.
Definitely. I was too small.
I
You're a
played
rugby
basketball.
guest. Yeah. Yeah, but I like those as well when you're
Why not?
naively asking the questions because someone at home doesn't know the sport. So how do you ask really basic level questions?
Moto's
if you did
too close, dude. I've got to know.
Yeah,
And I'm
you
a fan
know
of
that's for
him.
your
Yeah,
brand.
yeah.
Like you can't mess that up.
So that was like I like researched for it, and I really enjoyed it. It was like a different process. It was like normally the notes are like, you know, talk to Needles about Mega. It's like something I already really know about, and I already know about you. So it's just putting the two things together.
And you're
this was
often
not
doing it
This
for
was
the
like,
for the listener as well. You have there's a few you have to do for the listener.
Exactly. So clips, for instance. So quite often with guests, you have like clips that you want. I don't want to make it sound like it's not magical, but sometimes I want, if we're talking about Super Enduro, I want Billy Bolt's introduction of Super Enduro. That's going to be a clip. And that's like listening to podcasts teaches you that, I guess. Like, you know, you need to have those like hooks to get people in. And they're only going to start a conversation. Like, that's the thing. You make a couple of clips, it doesn't matter. You've got to fill the rest of the 2 hours. So I don't feel bad for it, but like...
No, not at all.
Certainly.
That is what it is these days. And the clips are only talking points, like you say, anyway.
Yeah.
That you're going to say.
Yeah.
It's just a bit, you know, a bit more like, that'll be a good clip.
Yeah. The bits
Well,
I
while
love
you're
are the bits
doing
in
it.
between.
Yeah, it's a bit.
Do you guys do that while you're doing? You're like, whoa, this is going to be a goodie.
Oh, mate, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I look over at Doug and I can see he's writing down, or Naomi, and they're like writing down the numbers
Yeah.
for like when it's
Because
when the clips happen.
I
it's
take
so
some
good.
notes,
He's not
but
doing
I
it
can
now.
do it virtually. You can't do it here.
No.
Yeah.
Just remember.
Quickly
You guys
say
are-
something good.
You guys outsource that. Oh, but I've seen you. You're like, that's a clip. Start in here. Just go back.
dude, yeah.
Clip.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, a bit of that, I guess. Yeah, like you say, thinking about that a bit more these days.
I don't.
We don't want to do it just for that, obviously, but they do it. They do
It
help.
is a business, right?
And a lot of people only watch clips.
Yeah,
I
and dude, you
know.
want to make it good.
I
You want to make
know.
the person. If you know something's going to go well,
Yeah.
you're going to get them to talk about that thing because you want their thing to do well. You want to see
Totally.
them. Yeah, totally. So
I always say with every guest, it's like, it's not a gotcha episode. Like, we're not trying to like
No.
out you for anything.
No.
But those things will do well, and they
Yeah.
benefit everyone.
Yeah.
They benefit you, they benefit your sponsors. It's just more stuff.
Yeah, maybe shed some light on the business aspect because people, that aren't that into podcasts will be like, you have a podcast. Do you make money doing a podcast? Can you make money? How? Maybe you can shed some light on the business side as a whole in the industry.
Yeah, I think it's changed a lot over the years. You know, obviously having more sponsors and brands. I think going back to what we were talking about the evolution of the whole platform, is that now brands are getting more interested in it and like come to us, TRC, now more than what they definitely used to. I think it's important though to choose the right partners. I think it's very easy to just do these random reads that like they're funny, but they have to be relatable to the audience. And like certainly some of the sponsors that we've had and do have that are really relatable, it's so sick now to be able to be like, yeah, that really works for that brand.
yeah,
Like there's one in particular, right, that like kills it. Like
yeah. When it does well and you realise that there is commercial value, I think that's really important, isn't it? It's like really shocking, actually.
Yeah.
To be honest, because it only feels like this is like this is 5 people in a room. And
Yeah,
then to
I
hear
also
that it
had
goes
a surprise
out.
with one. Not a surprise. I was like, oh, I don't know how this works. And then you're like, whoa.
yeah, it's cool. So
But
yeah,
you're
it's-
authentic and you pixel ones that you would use and things like that, I think.
yeah, so choosing the right partners that are actually beneficial to the audience is pretty key. But like, hey, it makes all this happen. Is like sponsors and things like, you know, we're pretty selective about who we work with, I guess. to some extent.
I love
But-
reads as a listener.
Yeah, I enjoy doing them as well.
Yeah.
We have fun
Same.
with
But
them all the time.
you guys are good with having two people is
Yeah.
easier.
We
Like,
do have
I'm
fun
like,
with it.
I'm really jealous of they've got two to bounce it off. I'm like, I've got to
this
do
is-
an
but
ad
I
read
think
on
it's-
my own. Damn it!
I think it's really cool because I think now everything's more transparent and you don't like hate on people for running ads. Do you remember watching like films when you were younger, movies when you were younger, and then the ad break comes in and you're like, Cadbury's chocolate, go away, I want to see what happens next. Whereas I don't feel that way now, and on like YouTube or in a podcast I can be quite abrupt, but I just get it. People paying their bills. It's like you got the content for free. You
Yeah,
sit
that's
through
the
a couple
thing.
of ads.
You've got the
Exactly.
content for
Yeah.
free,
And it might
well,
save you
that's-
some money.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what you can do with Patreon. You do ad free episodes and stuff like that when
Yeah.
you're chatting the car. So there's all.
Is this on
different ways
Patreon?
to- No,
Just checking.
can do. Put it
We
in
didn't negotiate the shares.
or using the
We've got a manager
studio.
now. We've got to put you in touch with someone else.
Yeah. It was tough to book you guys. Yeah, through
it's
your
really
manager.
hard,
Shit.
mate. Yeah, really
It's
hard.
been really difficult.
Yeah, he's a bit of a
It's-
gatekeeper, that one.
Mm.
But I love that side of it. Like genuinely, it's becoming a real like
Mm.
interest of mine. Like not just like an ad, like because that's kind of like the basic thing. But it's like how can you build out what we do now into more? And I think that's been how this has gone from being just the ride companion to what is now like TRC Media House. It's like, cool, okay, yeah, you want to run an ad, all good, we'll do an ad read for you, blah 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 blah. Blah. But okay, can we like make extra content? Can we do a video? Can we do a? There's now like a mailing list. Well, there's always been a mailing list, or there's been like social collabs, or just making content for a brand. Like there you go.
Yeah.
Our
It's yours.
first ads would be very funny to look back at our conversations during lockdown, just being like, "What should we charge?" You know, it was literally
Yeah.
like that. It was
Yeah.
literally like, and then you charge them, and people were just like, "Yep." And you're like, all right, let's double it. 'Cause we kept doubling. I mean, we literally did. We're like, I swear we could charge twice that, and then charge twice that, and still we charge obviously very little.
Yeah.
Like,
In the grand, but the thing is with the bike industry as well, like we were talking about over breakfast, it's like a lot of the sponsors are like relations already. It's like
Yeah.
it's Ollie sponsor already, so you're always like doing the deal, like okay, yeah, this is what we normally charge, but like you can have it for this,
Yeah.
you know. But
you
Well, it's
actually
a long
removed
game.
all our sponsors. He's removed all our
What,
sponsors
what
from
do
the
you
background.
think a takeover is? That sign I should have.
He got rid of all of them, dude.
Are you gonna sign
It's
your
like King
own?
Kong.
Sorry, could you two please sign your own wall?
We
You should.
yeah,
You
sign
guys
our own wall.
should. I
So
think.
yeah,
I think you bloody well should.
I think, yeah, no, not to go over it. I just find that side of it like super interesting, and I love talking to other people who do the same thing about it, whether it's on air or not.
It's
like,
really powerful. I mean,
Yeah.
we've listened to a lot of podcasts, and I can name a hell of a lot of brands in the world that I've heard through podcasts. I might not buy it then, but if I'm gonna buy it in that genre,
100%.
I'm probably if I trust the guest,
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, and that's
You want a
key.
mattress? You know where you
Yeah.
go.
yeah, exactly,
Eight
yeah.
sleep,
Yeah,
That
yeah,
one.
Yeah, yeah,
Is that
yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
and you want nutrition,
Yeah.
AG1,
Exactly.
Dude, it's good. It's good advertising.
Go the right
It
companion.
goes in my head.
moving the needle.
Nice. Cancel. Can you beat
Don't-
that, please, Doug?
Don't go to the ride companion. Yeah. Links
But
in
yeah,
the description.
It's been interesting, like watching brands come over and like want to get involved and sharing contacts with people and all that side of it. It's
That's
super good.
awesome.
But yeah, moving forward, we're going to be working on that side of it pretty hard and trying to
Well-
do better partnerships. Not better, but like
Let's hear some of those. Maybe just like.
Well, isn't it funny that when
as
you were
we wrap-
younger, you didn't
wrap
talk
up.
about money? I remember not talking about it at all, and I think it can be brash and horrible, and people talk about it the wrong way, and it's horrible. But it's also information, because I did a lot of years riding for actually some big brands, and no one told me really what I should be charging, and I actually didn't really have any conversations with friends even that were charging for ages, because it just felt taboo money.
Yeah.
Whereas it is good to talk about, isn't it? It
I
is
agree.
like,
Yeah. No, you have to, because if you're unaware, you're doing a disservice to other people.
yeah.
If you're charging less, same happens with the filmers and stuff. If you're doing a really good job and you're charging less, then the other guy can't charge as much.
Yeah, I've done bare disservice
Right.
over the years.
But that
dude.
was
so many disservices.
that was unbeknownst to you. You didn't know. So
Duh.
rising tide lifts all ships,
yeah, no, that's really good.
doesn't it?
So where do you see it going? What as we wrap up, what's the future look like? Both of
Where does it look like? I don't know. I feel like at some point, a space which is just ours would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's, you know,
Absolutely.
I mean, for those who don't know, we're actually sat in our lovely producer's living room at the moment. But yeah, a space like that's just like ours is the move. You know, you look at what some of these creators are doing and building these spaces out that are like content. Ollie always says like just machines. Like you can just do everything in one spot. It's like studio there, and you've got like the wall over there taking photos of guests, and like, you know, I think that is the move. It's just so expensive, especially where we are. Like if we were in Sheffield, it'd be easy. We could get a warehouse.
Ollie should just move there.
Able to
I know.
pump it out.
No, but like I think that's obviously a big thing. And yeah, just we're going to be doing some live stuff.
Ah, awesome.
Well,
you heard it here first.
yeah, we do
on
some
both channels.
like live stream stuff
Hey,
maybe.
do you know what as well? What I think so cool about podcasts is just if you put out the same stuff, it's always with different people. The world is changing. Life is exciting. There's always new exciting things to talk about. It doesn't have to. You don't have to go 3D goggles. You don't have to go anything.
If anything, it needs to be more basic.
Yeah, I like audio podcasts personally. That's how I listen to them, and
Likewise, yeah.
you can just like if you keep putting out the same thing and the product is good, then it's going to keep being good. And I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. And I think we live in a world where everything is about like next 4D.
Yeah, definitely.
I want a scratch and sniff podcast. I want to know what it's like to smell Andrew Neethling as he talks. We don't necessarily need it. It might just be all right the same.
I think if anything, it's about just making it more like sustainable and easy. So that the whole thing is just, I mean, it's pretty easy now. But like to be able to just walk in, sit down, press go, that's the dream. Not have to build and just the content is the thing, and just like, that's ultimately the dream really. It's just to make it easier.
But we are, but also doable. I'd like to take this opportunity to say that we are actually looking into scratch and sniff cameras, and we might be releasing that fourth dimension.
Yeah, knee pads and
so it smells like knee pads as we're talking. Nice.
Yeah, decent.
Maybe
could do. Can try, or you can just get your knee pads and put them over your face.
All I'm saying is we're looking into it.
Now
Watch
we are
or sniff this space.
I've lost the episode. I'm now being hosted by Ollie and Davi,
It's all gone
and
wrong.
the ramblings have started.
This is when I bring it back.
You bring it back, and then I might end the show. Boys, that's been incredible.
Yeah, cool.
Super
Appreciate
fun.
you, man.
That's been so good and been a big inspiration to me. So thank to you, Davey.
A pleasure.
Huge
mate.
inspiration.
Pleasure.
And I think you guys will have a studio, and you can always, outsource some of the work. You could rent out the studio to other people. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, definitely.
Cover some costs.
Definitely.
Right.
Yeah, you're our number one client.
Shocker, not charging me. Boys, no, that was great, dude.
I appreciate you.
Until the next one.
Yes, until the next one. End on a funny, not a funny, but like a nice quote to just end the whole thing. Like
nice quote.
Yeah, what's like your tagline?
Now you've
like,
put it.
Keep moving the needle.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, dude.
Me. No, I'll just say till the next one. Peace.
Oh, that's quite good as well.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe.
There you go on both channels.